So, I can explain. But I won't. Hey people, voice talking to you, and the crazy train has left the station. So today we are checking out Squirrel with a Gun, a hilarious open-world shooter platformer where the neighborhood menace has gained access to firearms and begins a crusade against some kind of secret agency. If that sounds like you're kinda stupid and you'd like to buy the game for yourself, I'll have a link down in the description. Alongside that is a link to my Twitch channel in case you'd like to join us when we play these games live on stream. We play as, you guessed it, a squirrel. After breaking into a secret bunker underneath the suburban neighborhood, we swallow some sort of top-secret device because we are convinced it is a giant golden acorn. Presumably, this is how we gained the level of sentience necessary to operate firearms, but judging by the first few minutes of the game, we aren't exactly normal to begin with. When our banditry sets off the bunker's alarms, an agent is sent to dispatch us, but he subsequently trips, throwing his sidearm right into our tiny rodent hands. Now, armed with a taste for revenge, we shoot our way out of the bunker and begin rampaging across the neighborhood on a quest for more golden acorns with the ultimate goal of destroying this secret agency. If you're expecting more of a story from a game called Squirrel with a Gun, then I think you're probably in the wrong place. Everything is seen from our perspective as a squirrel, so we probably won't ever understand what the golden acorn devices actually are, or why the agency keeps leaving weapons all over the place. Now, before I explain how everything works, you should know that this game was probably designed to be used with a controller, though it doesn't mention that anywhere. You can play with a mouse and keyboard if you hate yourself, and you may be tempted to do so with the shooter elements and all, but trust me when I say that trying to platform in this game with a keyboard can be a painful experience. Okay, the controls are a little bit frustrating, not gonna lie. Not gonna lie, maybe I should be using a controller. On mouse and keyboard, you'll constantly be adjusting the camera, the movement is jerky and happens at odd angles, and all of the key bindings are really odd choices that cannot be remapped. Do yourself a favor and just plug in a controller. Once we escape the bunker, the game becomes very sandbox and is reminiscent of Goat Simulator in a lot of different ways. Our primary objective is to explore the neighborhood and collect golden acorns, while blasting some suit-wearing baddies along the way. Golden acorns are earned from each location around the map by overcoming obstacles, uncovering secrets, defeating groups of enemies, and generally completing various objectives. Each location has a flagpole nearby that can be climbed to locate any golden acorns or other collectibles that haven't been obtained yet, giving the player a general position of the item and a descriptor that serves as a hint for objectives. Now, golden acorns serve as our primary metric for advancement, and determine which weapons, vehicles, and doors we can unlock. They aren't the only item on our collectathon list, though, and we'll also be searching for reload wedges, which I'll explain later, outfits, and regular acorns. Acorns serve as currency for unlocking new weapons, vehicles, and outfits, and picking up acorns is the only way to recover lost health. We can collect acorns by exploring the map, smashing open objects, and ripping up flowers, defeating enemies, robbing wandering civilians, and otherwise causing general mayhem. Considering the fact that everyone seems to keep a bunch of nuts in their pockets and hide them in every corner of their homes, it's not really surprising they have a rodent problem. Outfits are collectibles that sometimes offer unique bonuses like increasing the damage of a certain gun or making us immune to explosions at the cost of movement speed. More importantly, however, outfits let us customize our squirrel with different colors and adorable tiny clothes. Honestly, I would have gone after the outfits even if they didn't offer any kind of bonuses, but I'm also not complaining about the ability to light off gas tanks with a sparkler on our head or give ourselves a funny walk. With a controller, the movement for this title feels pretty good overall, and though there is a bit of momentum to get used to, getting around is relatively satisfying. Most platforming challenges are pretty straightforward, and even if you're pretty bad at platforming, me, you'll probably still complete any such challenges on the first few tries. Though there isn't a ton of variety to the visuals, the world is still really fun to explore, both because of the rather bizarre interiors of the buildings and the unique squirrely methods of getting around, eventually including a little RC car we can drive around and pull off sick stunts with. Alright, I've made it this far in without explaining how the guns work, but I will deprive you no longer. Guns can be taken from defeated or stunned enemies or looted from an unlocked spawn point. Aiming brings up our custom acorn crosshair and shows us our ammo count. Enemies will all have their own health and stun meters next to them in combat, and each shot we land will decrease their health and increase their stun. When the stun meter reaches a certain threshold, enemies will not only be unable to fight for a time, but will also open them up to a finisher. Finishing moves are exaggerated, way too well animated, over-the-top takedowns that not only earns us more acorns for that kill, but also denies our foe entrance to Valhalla by making it abundantly clear that they were dunked on by an adorable pocket-sized rodent. There's a unique finisher for each weapon, including when we are unarmed, and despite the complete lack of gore, the brutality with which our fuzzy little berserker rips into enemies makes it easy to get a little carried away. Despite our adorable stature, enemies can and will open fire on us, as well as closing in for melee attacks which can send us flying off a ledge as well as deal damage. Fortunately, we are a much smaller target than our enemies and much more mobile. But just in case, our health can be found in the bottom left of the screen, in the shape of a little squirrel and right next to our special meter. I don't know if it's the result of eating a bunch of top secret government experiments or if all squirrels can bend time to their will, but activating our special ability will slow down time for us, which will slowly consume our special meter. This not only makes it easier to line up shots and dodge bullets, but the shockwave we create when we enter this state staggers nearby humans, knocking them to the ground and temporarily disarming them. Using your special is a great way to give yourself some space and get a gun from an enemy when you run out of ammo. If you do run out of bullets, you can get more from ammo spawns, dropped weapon magazines, or by using reload energy. Reload energy is obtained from bullet pine cones and defeated foes, and will replenish the magazine of our equipped weapon up to a limit determined by our energy level. We can increase our maximum reload energy by collecting those reload wedges I mentioned earlier. We aren't defenseless without a weapon though. We are strong enough to throw large objects and explosives at enemies. We can make use of environmental features like gas tanks and mines to even the odds. Lastly, when an enemy is unaware of us, staggered, or reloading, we can climb on them like we're back in Shadow of the Colossus. When climbing an enemy, we can extricate a hidden weapon from them if we find the right spot, which can be in the most unusual of places, or if we reach their shoulders, we can climb up their face and snap their neck with sheer momentum. With all the running and gunning, there's just one thing to remember. We are still a squirrel, and rather small. I can't say for certain that squirrels were never intended to make use of firearms, but guns were definitely not designed to be wielded by something half their size. With that said, recoil is extremely severe, and depending on the size of the gun, can knock us back a few inches or several feet. But we can also use this to our advantage. Thought guns were only for combat? Wrong! Recoil can be used as an additional jump while in the air, and different guns can offer different maneuvers. A submachine gun will offer more controlled movement, while a shotgun will send us to greater heights. These aren't just platforming moves either. This tactic will send bullets or bombs raining down on whatever poor sod is below us. Hi there! All of this comes together to make combat a chaotic and frantic experience that can be a bit clunky, but also extremely fun. There's also a couple of different bosses with unique mechanics, cool arenas, and music that is honestly way too good for a game about an armed tree rat with violent tendencies. Now, the one thing I'll say that really kind of surprised me was that the combat doesn't seem to be the core of the gameplay, despite its monopoly on the mechanics. I think overall I spent the most time looking for secrets and solving little puzzles around the neighborhood to get more acorns and outfits. What I can say for sure is that I was definitely never bored with this game. There is tons of stuff to do around the map, and seeking out each little secret, finding creative ways to take down enemies, or discovering the subtle solution to a puzzle is pretty much always satisfying. That said, it seems this game isn't particularly long, likely only around 6 hours or so to get everything, and the map isn't exactly huge. Plus, I did wish combat was a bit more frequent, and there was a bit more variety to enemies, maybe even different factions. Lastly, having only a single finisher for each gun can get quite repetitive if you favor one kind of weapon. For what it is though, Squirrel with a Gun is a remarkably fun and bafflingly well-made trip back to good old-fashioned video game shit. It's weird, it's hilarious, and every time you think you have some sort of handle on what's going on, boom, bedazzled daddy jacket. This game isn't exactly what I expected, but I also love it to death anyways. Then again though, I'm just the voice in your head, so what are your thoughts on the Squirrel with a Gun? The music reminded me a lot of Sonic, but are there any other old games this reminds you of? Do you like the sandbox style, or would you prefer there was a bit more narrative substance here? Let's talk down in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, leaving a like helps me deal with the algorithm and gives my brain some dopamine. If you want to see more, subscribing is the best way to support the channel, and keep new videos coming your way, because I put out new reviews every single week. Thanks so much for listening to me today, and you'll be hearing from me again real soon. Why is this game so high quality? What the hell?